If you've been thinking about your relationship with alcohol, if you are unhappy about it or wondering whether you should quit, then the chances are you've heard about this concept of hitting rock bottom. So this is the low point that drinkers apparently need to sink to before they feel ready to admit that they have a problem and that they want to change and do something about it. We are conditioned to think that if we're going to do something as radical as quitting drinking, then things must have reached breaking point. Maybe you've read about other people's experiences of rock bottom or seen it portrayed in movies when the character in question starts, drinking in the morning or driving to work drunk, or something really dramatic happens, like they wake up in hospital or in a prison cell with no memory of what happened or how they got there. There are lots of reasons why it can almost suit us to think that problem drinking looks like that. And as long as our drinking isn't like that, then phew, we're probably okay. In this video, I want to invite you to really question that, because none of us need to be anywhere near rock bottom in order to decide to take a break from drinking and feel that we might want to choose something different for ourselves. I know I've done plenty of interviews over the years where people have asked me about my drinking and what prompted me to quit. And I often get the sense that the interviewer is expecting to hear a dramatic story about why I just had to stop. But I don't have one. The truth is pretty boring, actually. I'd worried about my drinking on and off for years. I'd noticed that I liked drinking alone at home. That was my favourite way to drink. I was using alcohol to numb out from life and squash down difficult feelings. And then I tried to quit for a month one January and I couldn't do it. So there was this feeling of unease, like if you've just discovered you're on a runaway train that's speeding up and getting more and more out of control. That's how I felt. And I was crossing more and more boundaries that I'd set for myself about when I drink or where or how much. But what you need to know is that whilst all that was happening, I was still showing up for work every day. I was still holding down a great job. I still went running. I dragged myself to the gym, and I had this life that looked very normal and actually pretty successful from the outside. I certainly wasn't pouring vodka on my cornflakes or getting kicked out of bars. If you're going to try and make a movie or a TV show about my drinking, it will probably not have any viewers because it'd be really boring. There wasn't a big dramatic moment. It was lots and lots of subtle little things over time. And I know I'm not the only one with that story. I'd say about 90% of the women who join my Stop Drinking course don't have some big dramatic rock bottom moment either. I know that if you're worried about your drinking, it's tempting to think, well, at least my drinking isn't as bad as such and such. It doesn't look like those cliches, or this hasn't happened yet. Culturally, we have this idea that you need to be falling down and losing everything before you can address your relationship with booze. We view alcohol abuse in very black and white terms. It's kind of all or nothing. You're either a normal drinker or a raging alcoholic. It's crazy, really, because there is a big grey zone between those two extremes, and you can absolutely stop drinking in the grey zone. You don't have to wait until things get worse. I mean, in almost every other area of life, we are quick to take action. No one would ever say to you, hey, don't worry about your finances. Are you bankrupt? Are you sleeping on the streets? Well, if you're not, you're absolutely fine. That's kind of what we're saying with alcohol, isn't it? The other really unhelpful thing about rock bottom is that I think it gives the impression that eventually something bad will happen and then you'll just know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is it. You'll be 100% certain that it's time to stop. But again, in my experience, this rarely happens. Even when I do work with women who've had something shocking happen as a result of their drinking, it's actually very rare for them to decide that they're going to quit just like that. There's often a bit of shock there and some denial. It's really not like flipping a switch where you suddenly feel very, very certain. There's often still a lot of doubt. The reason I wanted to talk about rock bottom is because I know that when you're worried about your drinking and you're trying to figure out what to do, it's only natural to start comparing yourself to others. And there are lots and lots of books out there and memoirs and blog posts where people talk about the depths of their drinking and the places that they sank to. And if you're a bit of a grey zone drinker like I was, it can almost be comforting to read that stuff because you know that is not you. You are not there yet, wherever there is. But the truth is this: you don't need to look outside of yourself for the answers. You don't need to compare yourself to others or wait until you are 100% certain about your next steps. It can be a lot simpler than that. If you are frequently drinking more than you intend to, and it's making you unhappy, if you're worried about it or suspect that drinking is holding you back from living your best life, then that is more than enough to begin. That's enough to take a break from drinking and test drive alcohol-free living for a couple of months. Because if you do that, then you can find out what sobriety is really all about. You can get past the awkward early days and onto the good bit of alcohol-free living. You deserve to experience that. So, I'm Kate B. Wherever you're watching this, please scroll down and let me know in the comments what you think about this rock bottom idea and the concept of quitting drinking in the grey zone. I'm wishing you a very happy and hangover-free week.